What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and what a great day. Some of the best get woke, go broke moments have been happening, and much to the chagrin of the blue-haired harpies on Twitter and of the few remaining woke media websites, Joker continues to be the absolute juggernaut while also sticking it to China. That's right. Joker is going to become the first R-rated film to top a $1 billion mark. And, oh, by the way, that's without China. Imagine that. This movie would have made probably $1.5 billion if you throw in the Chinese market. And they just said, forget it. Not going to do it. Not going to bend the knee to the people screeching at us on Twitter. Not going to bend the knee to the censorious regime. We're just going to put together a good movie. And what this really shows is that people crave originality. People crave a real story, something they can relate to. And the media knew that this movie would be a gigantic success. And that's why they fought so hard against it, because it flies in the face of everything they've been telling and they've been preaching for years. Oh, we need forced diversity. We need this. We need that. All these things we need to, we got to have inclusion and this and that. None of that stuff sells better than a good movie. And that's exactly what Joker is. And as I am somebody who, by the way, is going to see it for the second time this Friday because a good friend of mine still hasn't seen it and he's visiting from out of town, we're going to take it across the $1 billion mark. And it would appear that a sequel is now imminent. Yes, please. I can't wait. After grossing $37 million and $14 million domestically at the weekend box office, Warner Brothers' supervillain origin tale Joker has amassed an impressive $934 million in global theatrical receipts, so it is now inevitable. Joker will become the first R-rated film to top the huge $1 billion box office market. It's especially impressive that Joker will manage the $1 billion feat without a release in China. Heck yeah! You listening, video game producers? Are you listening, Blizzard? You don't need them. You just need to make an excellent product and people will buy it. Making it the first release film since 2008's Dark Knight to do so. The total weekly tally for Joker over the past 7 days, meaning the above weekend figures plus preceding weekend data, top 70 million, would have to drop 50% every week starting immediately to fall below $1 billion. And since it's dropped a remarkably low 24% in foreign markets and only 28% in North America the past weekend, there's no serious chance of Joker suddenly suffering a 50% decline all of a sudden. And that is with everything. With all of, oh, I'm so proud of all of you. That's with all of the mainstream media pulling out all the stops to shill the most garbage movies, to say this movie would turn us all into monsters. Guess what? Nothing happened. Even remember when there was an incident that the media used Joker masks in it, even though they weren't actually featured at the event? I didn't cover that. I probably should have. The media was so desperate for somebody to do something bad during this film, and nothing happened. They tried to scare you away from going to see it. They tried to scare parents, telling them to not let their kids to see it, and none of it worked. Everybody knew it was utter baloney sausage. If the Joker sees a 40% global dip next weekend, another 40 the following, and falls 50 each subsequent, then just those weekends alone will take it to $999.5 million. In fact, I anticipate Joker will dance past the $1 billion mark in 2 more weekends. By the way, go see this movie twice, because when people support good movies, more good movies get made. The problem is everybody dronelessly, including myself as drones, have been unendingly watching movies like the Marvel series and ignoring masterpieces. I suppose not ignoring, because there just hasn't been any, but Hollywood has been rewarded for doing bare minimum effort for years. Now we've shown Hollywood that if you make an excellent movie, we'll come out and see it. even if it's rated R. Joker will be the 4th Warner Brothers DC movie to earn more than $1 billion, behind Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, and Aquaman. It all but certain, barring the unforeseen major declines in weekly performance, Joker will top The Dark Knight's $1.004 billion for 3rd place. I want it to be number 1. I want it to be number 1 so badly, especially because it won't have a China release. That means a lot. Dark Knight Rises is $1.081 billion, so there's a scenario where it may pass that as well, unless that Warner decides to make a deal to edit the film for PG-13 rating for China release. In that case, there would likely be a good chance, if not likelihood, Joker would surpass The Dark Knight Rises and become the 2nd biggest DC movie in Warner history. It would really only require a mild edit, removing a few seconds from 3 particular scenes and reducing some profanity in a few instances to get the Joker into PG-13 territory. So I'm not entirely sure yet whether or not to expect a China release, but with award season starting, the buzz for Joker could get loud enough to convince Warner for a China release. Box office success would add momentum to further sizzle Joker's already record-shattering performance. You know, I don't support editing a film for release there at all, but I understand why they'd probably do it. Now on to sequels. Joaquin Phoenix creates Joker sequel posters to show Todd Phillips what's possible. Look, this film is going to make over $1 billion. We know how Hollywood works. Barring Joaquin Phoenix putting his foot down and absolutely saying no, there's no scenario in my mind where the sequel doesn't happen, and there's more and more buzz around it, including Joaquin and director Todd Phillips talking about it directly. Joker has grossed over $930 million worldwide, which means a sequel is probably inevitable for Warner Brothers. Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix have gone back and forth on the idea of a Joker sequel, but the follow-up film is unquestionably on Warner Brothers' minds now that the original has grossed over $930 million and will be headed above the $1 billion mark. Phoenix confirmed in a recent interview with the LA Times that part of the draw of the Joker role was that it was a one-off and that wouldn't bind him to a years-long franchise. I guess the fear was you'd get locked into doing something repeatedly you don't really care about. That doesn't motivate or excite you, Phoenix said. But part of the whole attraction to me of Joker was that there was no expectation. I didn't sign a deal to do more movies. It was a one-off. Reportedly, Joaquin Phoenix was offered Marvel movies, and part of the reason he turned them down was for that. And yet, Phoenix says the idea of a sequel didn't take long to manifest. Long before the release, or before we had any idea it would be successful, we talked about sequels, Phoenix said. In the 2nd or 3rd week of shooting, I was like, Todd, can you start working on a sequel? There's way too much to explore. It was kind of in jest, but not really. Phoenix says he wouldn't just do a sequel because the first movie was successful, but if an exciting idea can be crafted, then he would reprise the role. During the production of Joker, Phoenix asked on-set photographer if he would picture him in character so they could create mock sequel posters in a tongue-in-cheek attempt to show director Todd Phillips the possibility of another movie. I basically said, you could take the character and put him in any movie, Phoenix said. So I wanted a photo shoot, on-set photographer. We made posters where I photoshopped Joker into 10 classic movies. Rosemary's Baby, Raging Bull, Yentl. And you see it and you're like, yeah, I'd watch that movie. Yentl with Joker? That would be amazing. What Phoenix poster stunt hints about a Joker sequel is that it would have wildly different tone than what Phillips presented in the current smash hit. Joker was inspired by the gritty 70s character movies such as Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. It seems like Phoenix would want a sequel to have drastically different cinematic reference points. We've only talked about the fact if we ever did one. I'm not saying we're going because right now we're not, but it couldn't just be this wild and crazy movie about the clown prince of crime, Phillips told Times about the sequel. That just doesn't interest us. It wouldn't have the same thematic resonance in the similar way this one does. It sounds like Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix are exactly on the same page. And we have Scorsese chiming in, which is bizarre. Everybody wants a piece of Joker. Now we got Scorsese, who's seemingly nonstop talking trash about superhero films. Scorsese said, I consider Joker, but I didn't have the time. You know what? Scorsese's done some amazing things, but he's really coming off as a bitter old man recently. Scorsese is not letting up on his battle of the comic books. The legendary filmmaker said he thought about directing the controversial hit flick Joker, but decided he didn't want to because the protagonist turns into a comic book character. I decided that I didn't have time to do it. Scorsese said in the BBC interview promoting the new film The Irishman. Boy, this sounds like such butthurt. I mean, it sounds like to me like a bitter old man who's resenting his opportunity to make his mark on the genre. Because what Joker proves is it doesn't have to be this paint by numbers, no stakes superhero type movie. You can have very real stakes. In fact, the Batman films, the Christopher Nolan series, had real stakes in them too. During the interview, Scorsese acknowledged his divisive opinion and doubled down on claims that superhero films are more like theme parks. They're not easy to make, Scorsese said. There's a lot of very talented people doing the work, and a lot of young people really enjoyed them, but I do think it's more of an extension of an amusement park. As for Joker, Scorsese says he didn't want to get involved for, quote, personal reasons, but doesn't consider it a superhero film. Oh, okay. Well, because it's so good, because it did well, now it's not a superhero film. But now that the buzz and the rumors around and that it's all but imminent that a Joker sequel will happen, we've got the Mary Sue crying about it. Oh no, please spare me a sequel to Joker. Remember when everyone made a big deal about how Joker wasn't like other superhero movies? Well, I guess throw that out the window because they're basically talking about making a sequel, and it might have had hints to other Batman villains, and I truly cannot handle any more of this movie. Joaquin Phoenix talked to the LA Times about his work on the Joker and talked about the possibility of a sequel. Originally, the idea was that they wouldn't do a sequel. Phoenix was so interested in exploring more of Arthur Fleck that he instantly told director Todd Phillips to work on a sequel. Spare me. Whether or not it was a serious request, I sincerely hope that this movie does not go back on everything it had been preaching nonstop, like it was not like other movies. They never said there would never be a sequel, and you can do a sequel to The Joker that isn't basically an extension of what happened. You can really do, I mean, I would love to see an entire movie of Joker in the psychiatric system. That kind of stuff, just more grit, more tense, more everything, which would be a true sequel. But the character played by Joaquin Phoenix is so interesting, I'd watch him in something wildly different too. Or think that changed superhero. Two things it did not. In fact, but instead it made a bunch of fans of this movie absolutely insufferable to those of us that have problems with it. Yeah, all four of you. I'm exceptionally tired of the discourse surrounding Joker, mainly because The Dark Knight did this story better, and B, it isn't anything new. The Dark Knight did not do this story better. The Dark Knight was about Batman versus Joker. It was hardly about Joker at all. While it did offer some glimpses into the origin of Joker, it didn't show his origin story at all. This movie was about Joker with like literally 1 second of Batman reference, and The Dark Knight was about 70-30 Batman Joker. I'm exceptionally tired of the discourse surrounding it, and it isn't anything new. And the fact that Joaquin wants to explore more shows that this is always going to be the typical superhero world-building movie. The thing about Joker that aggravates me is that it's everything around it is geared towards tearing down the superhero genre. And now that it's a successful R-rated movie, they want to continue telling the story that never needed to be told in the first place. Oh, your delicious tears. Oh, they're so salty and so delicious. $1 billion in the cinema tells you that plenty of people wanted this story told. Look at the context of Joker and every problem that many found with it. So now that Joaquin Phoenix seems to want a sequel, does that mean we're going to see one? I hope not. This story, while not something I enjoyed, did have a good ending that fit the story. They're practically begging. They're practically begging for no sequel for the Joker. How pathetic. I, for one, am looking forward to the media losing their minds. I hope that they do a Joker sequel, and I hope that it's even more divisive. I hope that it goes directly after, for example, how about making fun of the media? How about pointing out how they lie? How about pointing out some of the things that really gets these people riled up? Because clearly, based on the reviews, which are probably, I haven't even seen it. Let's see, Joker, Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see what it's at. I actually haven't looked. 89%. Probably should be a 90, but nonetheless, I feel like they're probably suppressing this a little bit. I doubt that 11% of people didn't like this movie, but there's certainly some people. This film, in my opinion, will go down as a masterpiece. It will go down as probably the best superhero origin story ever, and I sincerely hope that they continue to explore the character in a new and an original way, not just for the delicious tears, but because I loved it so much. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.